Back to my channel. Today I am going to respond to part 2 of Megan Connor's response to Lauren Matthias's 9-hour pity party. I don't have any mental health credentials, any law expertise. I'm an ex-mechanic with an English degree. These are just my opinions. I'm just doing this for your entertainment and mine. And so thanks for coming. Okay, so the video is called Over 70 TikTok Posts Were Not Harassing. And the way it's kind of worded and framed here is that, of course, 70 TikTok posts were harassing, as though there could not be any other answer to that question. So already we're not starting off on a great footing with Megan here, but here we go.
A couple of other things that I want to cover, some comments that people have made and different points that they've made. First, I would like to go to the TikTok account. This is the account. There are about 1,500 followers on this account. The 3 pinned videos, a couple of them have 10,000 views. One has 7,000 views. One of the ones that's not pinned has 20,000 views.
Is she jealous? I mean, I kind of am.
I want to point a couple of things out, and these are, again, there are 70 videos on here. The very first video that we see is down here at the bottom, that was posted back in June of 2025, says, "I'm bored. Tell me the red flag in a friendship you ignored until it slapped you in the face." So to me, that says this person decided to create this account because they were bored. And, you know, just, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, there's no evidence of that. I mean, there's some evidence that that's why she created that particular video, but there's no evidence that that's why she created this account. So she's jumping to conclusions already. And excuse me, I guess what she's trying to imply is that Christina implied that she started this account out of boredom, but in fact, you know, she started it to harass Lauren. But I don't think that that is evidence that Christina was saying that she started the whole account because she was bored. That's the level of logic we're dealing with. So
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The 10th video this person posted was an accusation that the petitioner wanted to non-consensually obtain the genetic material of her brother who had had a traumatic brain injury and was not going to recover, which right there is something that is intentionally meaning to cause emotional distress.
So again, I don't really know. I don't know how she can know what Christina's intent was. That's her interpretation of it. My interpretation of it was that Christina intended to give an example of the extent to which Lauren would consider going in order to center herself in a tragedy so that she could gain personally from doing that. We've seen her do it with victims. So, you know, I think it's fair to say, maybe that's what she was doing in this situation too. But Megan doesn't have any ability to think outside of the box at all, so she's just going to go with she was intending to harass and upset Lauren.
To a person, which does fall under the legal definition of stalk. The petition.
Right? So again, I do think that the judge would be interested in the intent, and Megan is over here assuming the intent without evidence.
His brother had sustained a traumatic brain injury. He was making eye contact, according to the petitioner, all the way up until the day that he died. He had already passed away at this point, and the respondent chose to make this video. I guess being privy to a conversation that Lauren and her family had about her brother being a brilliant person and wondering if something he would have wanted was to be a donor.
So interesting that Megan feels like she is okay to talk about this, and that her motives and intent are pure as the driven snow. Lauren is allowed to talk about it, but nobody else is, I guess. Certainly Christina's not. Regardless of the fact that there are ethical considerations in a situation like this, particularly if her brother was non-compos mentis. There are issues of consent, and I think that those are valid questions, valid concerns that people might have. I think that these kind of conversations should be had. They should be out in public. We should be discussing this. Particularly if the person is not able to contribute or offer their own opinions, because then you have to look at what are the motivations of the people who are choosing to harvest, a dead or dying person's procreational materials, right? Either eggs or sperm. So I think these are important ethical conversations. I think we all have a right to talk about these things. And I think that we all have a right to question the motives of people who are, wanting to perform these types of, or have these types of operations performed on loved ones. I suspect that she's going to go on to try to say that Christina was also really horrible in saying this because she was implying non-consensual relations, which is, I don't think that's the case. That wasn't what I took from it, but I think that taking, it doesn't just have to be intercourse to be non-consensual. I mean, in Canada, certainly, I don't know about the States, but in Canada, like, you have to sign to say that you're willing to be an organ donor. They don't get to take your organs without your consent, and I think that this is similar. So I think there were ethical questions there that are fair enough. They're fair game for questioning and public discussion. And I also think there were questions about Lauren's motivations that were fair, based on things that we've seen her do in the past. So I'm not going to interrupt anymore until we move on to the next topic. I'll just let her finish saying what she has to say. At least I will try.
And there is a surgical procedure by which they can obtain the genetic material. It has nothing to do with contact that is sexual in nature at all. And apparently the respondent, being privy to that conversation, decided to blow it out of proportion and make it something disgusting.
So she's saying apparently, and that she's making it disgusting. So it seems like she doesn't have she hasn't actually watched the TikTok. And she is applying her, this emotive, it's disgusting, and how very dare you. I said I was going to let her talk, didn't I? But I can't. She's just so wrong in so many ways, and so relentlessly.
So this entire account, we heard Lindsay say on the stand that some of this was motivational. Let me go back to my notes here. She said it wasn't entirely about...
I don't think she said it was motivational. Maybe she used that word, but I don't remember it, but okay. I just like to pick Megan apart, I guess.
The petitioner, it was about things going on in her life. It was about protecting your personal peace. Lindsay said, I don't think they were positive. So by definition, they were negative. A few were not about your client. Some of them were about protecting your personal peace.
So she's brought up this thing of them being negative in the same way that the lawyer in the actual courtroom was, I think it was Lindsay that was on the stand. I'm not 100%, but I think it was. But he was cross-examining Lindsay and asking her about the content of the messages and whether they were positive or negative or whatever, as if that was relevant. Like, you can say negative things about people, and it's not stalking. It's not against the law. Go on to Twitter or Blue Sky or any of those other sites that sprung up in the wake of Elon Musk taking over Twitter. People talk endless trash about people all day long, both sides of the street.
Not motivational, but peaceful. I don't see anything peaceful on here. And again, I haven't watched every single one of these.
So she hasn't watched them, but she's willing to say that she doesn't see anything peaceful on there. So, I mean, just looking right here from where I am, that one there that says someone sent me a screenshot. My ex-friend is about to attempt some damage control. That looks like a really peaceful setting. There's an earlier one where she's on a beautiful swing and they're swinging out over the beautiful ocean, and she's super happy that her life is not a a deteriorating nightmare like Lauren's is. So I'd say that was peaceful. I mean, I thought most of these were pretty good, honestly. Yeah, so anyway, here we go.
But I don't see anything peaceful on here. I don't see anything about protecting your personal peace.
Again, how is she supposed to be credible if she's not going to play any of them and she's just said, I haven't seen them all? How could she possibly make those claims?
So that's just me. If there is something that I've missed, I think this one is the audio. I don't know which audio that is because I haven't listened to it. But this is, so I wanted to find the one that she posted the day of this hearing, which was September 22nd. So I don't see one from September 22nd. So I'm looking through and I don't see anything that was dated September 22nd. This Worms one was September 6th. And then the next one is a Charlie Kirk Memorial post. And then the next one, which is, by the way, the only one that I've seen that isn't about the petitioner. And then the next one that I see, there are a couple that have been posted on the...
Isn't it about the petitioner, though? Isn't she just like Charlie Kirk? Same county and everything.
25th of September. So I don't know if there was one that was posted on the 22nd that has since been removed. So I don't see it there. It's possible that it has been removed at this point. So I want to point out, a lot of people have talked about the disparity in the audiences between the petitioner and the respondent. The respondent apparently had just 500 followers or so on this TikTok at the time. And it's been purported that she had 50,000 followers on her art pages on Instagram. I've never looked at those, so I can't tell you if that's accurate or not. But the question I want to ask is, does it matter? A lot of people have said, you know, the petitioner has over 300,000 followers on their YouTube page, and the respondent only had, at the time, 500 followers on their TikTok.
So I don't know what point she's trying to make exactly, like to say that just because you have a smaller account doesn't mean you can't be a stalker, which, yeah, true enough. But I just want to say, and I know you all know this, but I just want to say that nobody knew any of this until Lauren put it on blast with her 9-hour live. So a little bit self-inflicted. I mean, I think the thing is entirely self-inflicted, but in terms of putting it on blast, that's down to Lauren.
Question again is, does it matter? Because this to me is a little bit like if we remove the names again from these two individuals and we just go petitioner.
I feel like what she really wants to do is remove the facts and replace them with ones that are more convenient for the narrative.
And respondent in a typical stalking case, that's a little bit like saying, oh, the person being stalked has millions of dollars.
But this isn't a typical stalking case, as has been, confirmed by the judge and Lauren's canceling of the hearing.
And the person being accused of stalking is basically destitute. Does that matter? Does it matter how many followers a person has?
None of it matters if it's actually stalking. This isn't actually stalking, so none of this matters at all.
Or does it matter that the behavior is not okay? Because to me, that's what matters. To me, it would...
Yes, stalking behavior is not okay. I would like just to say, for anybody in the audience who thinks that because I have said that Christina is not a stalker, that means that I am ignoring actual victims of stalking. That is in no way the case, and I have all respect to anybody who has had to suffer through anything like this, and to deal with the inadequate protections that are available. I have nothing but, as I say, respect and love in my heart for people who have genuinely suffered that. And if Lauren had actually gone through that, I would feel the same way. But she didn't. So let's just keep that in mind.
Matter. What if it was the other way around? What if the petitioner had only 500 followers and the respondent had hundreds of thousands of followers? Would you feel differently about it? I think I might. I think I might feel differently if a smaller creator was being harassed by a larger creator. But maybe that's wrong of me to think of it that way. Maybe it should just be as black and white.
I don't know why she wants to even say that. Like, I mean, obviously anybody who's got power and is using it against, to harass somebody with less power, obviously that's wrong. And you should definitely see it that way. I feel like she's trying to be like there is one way and one way only to feel about these situations, regardless of all of the details. And that's just not true, right? This is like a part of her effort to lay out the facts, and so that she can show you that this is the one right response to have to this. And I mean, I will give her credit that she just actually said something true, which is like, yeah, I might feel differently about that. Yeah, because I mean, that's basically what Lauren did. If she could take the next step, it would be better, but...
As doesn't matter the number of followers, the number of money, the number of influence that you have. One person is trying to harass and cause emotional harm to the other person. That's stalking. That behavior is wrong. It shouldn't matter how many followers each one of them has.
It doesn't matter when an actual crime is being committed how many followers people have. Like, I mean, that's kind of what the whole Me Too movement was about, right? That these powerful people should not be able to escape the consequences of their criminal behavior, right? Their criminal harassment, assault, whatever, of people with less power than them. Like, yeah, but that's, I mean, literally that's what Lauren's doing. And Christina's not a stalker. So I feel like none of these facts are relevant to this situation.
Another comment I've gotten a lot on my page, on my channel, is about the petitioner releasing the private, protected mental health information of her son, and that being a big motivator behind the reason why she felt it necessary to...
Okay, but again, she's failing to mention that she's acting as though Christina has endangered Lauren's son's mental health, when in fact it was Lauren and John and probably Grayson, I wasn't there, but who allowed this overwrought histrionic presentation to leak out all over their son so that he has been terrorized by them. And she is not taking that into account. She is suggesting that Christina has terrorized Lauren's son, and so Christina is the one who's going to be at fault for any mental health information about her child that comes out. So it's disingenuous, and it's not what happened, and she's full of it. This is serious. She is absolutely full of it here. The person who traumatized that child, the people who traumatized that child, are John and Lauren. And they may have allowed Grayson to get in on it as well. Christina did nothing to that boy, and it is, if we're using the word disgusting, it's disgusting of her to imply that Christina has any fault here in any of this.
Expose all of this information on her own channel, on her own terms. And some people are saying, well, you went ahead and revealed it anyway. And so what was that about? Why would you do that? Well, I have since learned, I've read all of the court documents, and I have since learned that there would have been a lot more.
Okay, she's not going to show any of the court documents or any information at all that proves what there would have been, what would have had to come out. And it's not relevant anyway because she's trying to pin it on Christina when it's Lauren's fault.
Information that would have come out about her son's protected mental health data than what was shared in the statement made by the petitioner's husband. So in the statement that was made by the petitioner's husband, he did reference some of the mental health information of both his wife.
Again, that's on him, right? They didn't need to either traumatize that kid or use his trauma as a cudgel against Christina. So I am biting my tongue really hard right now.
And his son. But that's not the extent of what would have been revealed in the hearing had it been televised, live streamed, reported on by Law and Crime.
Again, Lauren and John are responsible for all of that, period, the end.
So make of that what you will. Believe me, don't believe.
She's going to blame Law and Crime. She's going to blame Christina. She's blaming everybody. She's putting this at the feet of everybody except the people who caused it. How does she sleep at night? How does she look in the mirror?
Believe me, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to present the facts that I do know.
The facts that she thinks she knows, with her very limited ability to think critically.
And I've been asked not to share the court documents because they're they're private on Utah's page, on the court page. And so I'm not going to share them, but they certainly, I think, have been leaked in some places. You could probably go find them if you wanted to. But yes, I've read all of the court documents.
Yeah, we've all read all the court documents now. So what? Lauren caused all of this. She kicked herself in the dick, and now she's complaining about it and blaming everybody else.
I've also read the statement made by Gigi McKelvey of Pretty Lies and Alibis. And I've also listened to the
JJ?
live stream that Kresha from Difficult Research did. I have zero beef against either one of those people. In fact, I like them both. They're both also friends of mine.
Are they? I wonder.
This space, in this YouTube space, I just want to say that Gigi made a statement about her experience with Lauren Matthias. She's allowed to do that. And she's allowed to have her...
So is Christina. And she's allowed to have negative opinions about Lauren. And she's allowed to say them online.
Her own experience with Lauren and she's allowed to have her own criticisms of Lauren. Same goes for Kresha of Difficult Research,
but not Christina. Interesting.
Channel I support, whose research I support. She's an excellent researcher.
So she supports all these people, but not Christina. Interesting.
I think that she definitely is, of course, entitled to her own opinion about her experiences with Lauren. That hasn't been my experience with Lauren. And in my opinion, my experiences with Lauren personally don't have anything to do with this case.
I mean, you and Lauren are both transactional type individuals from what I can pick up. So, you're both happy with the transactions so far, I guess.
So even though Kresha's experience and Gigi's experience have appeared to be negative with Lauren,
they have appeared to be, right? Not they are negative. They were negative. They had negative experiences. She's literally cutting them down here and saying, you just experienced it that way. It wasn't really negative. Appeared to be? Like, who is this woman?
I don't think it changes the fact that she was granted a stalking injunction.
Of course it doesn't change the fact that she was granted a stalking injunction. How could it? She was still granted a stalking injunction based on manufactured evidence and histrionics. And we have been through already the whole thing of like, would a reasonable person feel threatened by this? Dream Feed Media has done she did a great breakdown of the Utah law and the whole reasonable person statute, and she had some very, some excellent examples of her own experience that really laid out the difference between the reasonable person and the unreasonable person. And I would highly recommend that you go over and have a watch of that, because that is going to put paid completely to anything this person is saying right now.
And it was violated. That's what
So again, it wasn't violated. The judge clarified that what he had intended by mentioning social media was that she was not allowed to harass or intimidate Lauren on social media either. And he made clear that, if she was harassing or defaming her, that would be considered, breaking the injunction. but that it's a very high bar, and that, again, the reasonable person comes into it. So she's full of it, and go to Dream Feed Media. I'll link it. Go watch her video on this, because it's really very good.
I keep coming back to, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether I like someone or dislike someone. What matters to me are the facts of the case, and that's what I'm going to stick with.
Okay, so apparently the facts of the case don't matter to her, so like she's blowing her own credibility here. The ethos that she's trying to bring to this is that she's looking for the truth, and she just cares about the facts. But she has made it very clear that she doesn't. And for anybody who is unclear, I have been using the terms pathos, ethos, and logos to describe a number of different arguments that have come up with these people. So I have made a short 4-minute video. It's called Rhetoric, the Art of Persuasion. And it just breaks down those 3 terms for you. And you can find that on my channel if you want a little explainer.
And the other thing I want to say too is that I've said this a lot, and other people said this a lot during my family's trial. There are no perfect victims.
Okay, so I just want to point out the during my family's trial thing here. So I don't know, I wasn't there, obviously. I don't know these people personally, but I have seen the private messages that Lauren Matthias shared with the group chat from Summer Shiflett, where she talks about Megan being a grifter and a liar, and not having been close to the family at all, that she barely remembers her from childhood, and that she kind of grifted her way into this whole situation so that she could get some clicks and insert herself in the situation. So again, I don't know how true that is. I am like everybody else, getting my bits of information here and there, and whatever. But to even say my family's trial, there she is trying to give herself credibility, like she's trying to give herself airs a little bit, and that's, to me, that's a manipulation, particularly having heard from members of that family who disavow her.
You're not going to find anybody out there who's been a victim of a crime who is a perfect saint, who's never done anything wrong, who's never said anything bad about anybody, who's never disparaged anybody.
Yeah, that's true. Lauren has done lots of terrible things. So there are degrees of victim, right? Like, let's say that something were to happen to Lori Daybell, where she's in prison, where she's incarcerated. If somebody, took a dislike to her and attacked her and harmed her or killed her, she would be a victim of that crime, yes? But would Megan be jumping in to remind us all that there are no perfect victims? A lot of her facts seem to be, to my mind, it's moralizing, and it's school marming, and it's not very persuasive. So maybe she was telling the truth when she said she wasn't trying to change anybody's mind, because she certainly hasn't got the skills to do it.
Does that mean they deserve to be harassed? Does that mean they deserve to be harmed emotionally? Does that mean that they deserve to have somebody make an entire social media account dedicated to pointing out their flaws and saying things about them that are not true?
Again, like, these are all matters of degree, right? Like, what if it was Lori Vallow? Would she be out there defending Lori? Yesterday and a couple days ago, whatever, my last video, Trisha was saying, like, oh, go ahead, go on out there. I mean, if you want to say horrible things about Brian Koberger, go ahead. So apparently there are more and less perfect victims, and I think most people would acknowledge that. Like, obviously no one is perfect to say there's no perfect victims. I mean, of course not. There's no perfect people. So I think it's an important point when it comes to things like attacking a woman's sexual history, to say that she deserved to be raped. So obviously there is a time and a place for this, but this is neither the time nor the place. And Lauren did the things that she's accused of doing.
And that are defamatory? No.
Nobody's defaming Lauren. People are telling the truth about Lauren. The person who is being defamed in all of this is Christina.
If there are things that are true, then yeah, they should be said, especially if they harmed people. But what has happened here in this case, in a lot of these interactions with professional contacts of Lauren, is that they've received information that was not true.
So again, she's not gonna show us any evidence of that. I'm gonna guarantee you right now, she's not gonna show us any evidence of that. Because if they had evidence of that, we would have seen it by now.
Received screenshots of texts that have been manipulated or taken out of context.
Again, she's not going to show us that. How do you know they've been manipulated or taken out of context? How do you know that? Because I don't trust anything you say so far, so I'm going to need some actual evidence, not just, oh, take my word for it, even though I don't know how to think my way out of a paper bag.
And I'm not going to pretend over here that every text that Lauren has sent was kind and respectful of victims and families and co-workers. And
see, this is an attempt to show, like, that how reasonable she is, that, like, I know, that Lauren's not perfect. Like, yeah, we all know that everybody's not perfect, and that people have slipped up and said things that they didn't mean or whatever. Nobody is talking about that. What we're talking about is being accountable for the things that you did do. And Lauren is in control of that, and she has so far refused to do it. She sent one just insanely love-bomby text of apology to Christina. And when that didn't work, she threatened her with legal action. So,
contacts of all kinds. I'm not going to say that because, again, no perfect victims. There's not a single one of us who have not said something negative about somebody or, said something in an email or a text that we hope the public never sees.
That doesn't make us all like Lauren, though. She's making false equivalences here, right? And I mean, I may have said unpleasant things about people to other people, but in general, I am very upfront with people, and I don't say things about people that I wouldn't be willing to say to their face. So, I know not everybody is comfortable with confrontation, and that doesn't make me a better person than everyone else, but it does suggest that we're not all just like Lauren.
My point is, we've all said negative things about people, and I want to go back to what the judge said. People are allowed to say negative things about other people. Just because somebody says something and we don't like it doesn't mean that it's stalking. But the judge also said that the respondent is not allowed to threaten or harass or cause emotional harm to the petitioner.
And she didn't do any of those things. She expressed her opinion online, and Lauren couldn't handle it, and she freaked out, and we've all seen the result. So, again, right? The judge is very aware of the high bar that is required to charge someone with defamation, harassment, slander, cyberbullying, all the rest of it. And saying things about Lauren that she didn't like did not clear that bar. That was very clear. So she is cherry picking the things that the judge said for her narrative again.
That's what has happened here. So is Lauren Matthias a flawed figure? Yes, we all are. Period. Has she said unkind things to people?
Some of us are more flawed than others of us, Megan. My God. Literally, she's trying to make it like we're all the same. That is not an argument. That is, like, I think a 5-year-old could see through that argument, honestly.
Yes. Have I said unkind things to people? Yes. But that doesn't mean that any of us, either of us, deserve to be the victim of harassing, defamatory comments.
So I don't know about you, but Lauren has not been, at least not at the hands of Christina, a victim of harassing and defamatory comments. Period.
or any kind of speech in general that is done with the intent of causing emotional harm. And in Utah.
And how can she know what Christina's intent was? She can't. And again, the content of those videos does not rise to the level of harassment or defamation.
The law says that only has to happen twice in order for it to be considered.
So it never even happened once. So, again, what's your point?
Stalking. Period. The final.
Right? She's saying period, like that puts paid to it, when in fact she has offered no evidence of anything. She has cherry-picked things that she thinks make this narrative work.
Final thing that I want to point out, and I talked about this a little bit at the beginning about trying to change the gender roles over here. If the petitioner was a female and the respondent was a male, we probably all would feel very differently about this.
We might. I mean, some people probably would, just based on the gender, absolutely. I'm not going to deny that some people would. But, like, let's just, for example, like, what if it was, let's just speculate here. This is not a thought experiment. This is just speculation. We have yet to see a thought experiment in any of this, so I'm just going to speculate here. What if it was Mr. Breakfast? And what if Mr. Breakfast made exactly those same TikToks and did and said the exact same things that Christina said? If he had been a friend/contractor with Lauren and they had had a falling out in the exact same way, would it be different? To my mind, no. Because, again, like we're trying to go with the facts here, not with the pathos and the stirring up of fears and the feeding of the flames, right? Just because a person is male doesn't mean that they're more dangerous than somebody who is female. We know that there are more male stalkers. All of those things are true. But again, we still need to take each case on its own merits. And it could have just as easily have been Mr. Breakfast in that courtroom as it was Christina. And to my mind, nothing would have changed. So, I mean, there may be some initial reaction, but I think most people's, critical thinking skills would come online and they would start going, well, I still don't see any stalking here. So it seems like she's advocating for shutting down your brain based on statistics.
Situation. And again, I think that I said this last night, that I've spoken to lots of women who have also been victims of stalking behavior. Some of these women have said, I've been...
So she did already say all of this, so I have no idea why she's repeating it, except to get you on side with the outrage and the fear and the whatever about a situation that hasn't happened.
The victim of stalking, that's not stalking, she's just being dramatic. I think a lot of people's backlash about Lauren's 9-hour live that I've seen, where people are like, she was whiny, she was emotional. I think a lot of that backlash has to do with the fact that when we haven't dealt with our own emotions or our own feelings around a subject, especially something like stalking, it's really uncomfortable for us to see other people expressing their emotions.
What? Sorry. What? That seems like an awful lot like victim blaming to me. And I don't much care for it. I don't know. I don't even know if there's any truth in what she's saying. She's not providing any evidence. She's opining. I don't know if that's true at all. I mean, I can picture someone like, Mary Kay Letourneau's victim, Villy, who was 12 years old when she first started grooming him, and they ended up, she ended up pregnant when he was 13. I think she was 35. She went to prison. She came out of prison. They ended up married. They had another child. They had 2 daughters together. And they were together for a long time. He finally filed for divorce very shortly before she passed away from, I I think she had cancer. And he is coming to terms now with the fact that he was a victim. So I think that in a situation kind of like that, where you are groomed to thinking that you are a partner rather than a victim, it can maybe be hard to come to terms with that and take some time for that to happen. As for people who have been victimized by stalkers, not coming to terms with that and then jumping down the throats of other stalking victims, I have never heard of anything like that. I could very much just have missed it. If anybody has heard anything about this phenomenon, please let me know. And I'm even going to look it up after this video, I think, because unless she's got some actual facts to back this up, I think it's victim blaming and I think it's irresponsible.
And so I would just say part of this is about doing our own work to heal our own wounds, because then we're more able to sit with other people in their difficult emotions and their difficult circumstances. And
I mean, I would suggest that maybe Lauren do some of that, and she wouldn't be so reactive to anybody saying they don't like her or calling her on her nonsense. I mean, she seems very free and easy with the insults about everybody else, and yet she absolutely falls to pieces and needs to call the police when people say mean things about her. So, I don't know. I'm not very happy with this Megan person. I keep being surprised at how bad these people are at interpreting anything that's going on here. Like, it is shocking to me. I keep expecting to run into some actual valid points, and it has been a wasteland.
the other part of it is, what I want to point out too, is that those of us who have been victims of stalking are frustrated because...
Has she been a victim of stalking? Do people know details about this? If you do, please share. I know nothing about this, and I would be interested to hear what happened.
We find that there's not a lot that the police can do until we've been physically harmed.
Again, she went through all of this before, and now she's saying those of us who have been victims, so she's bringing herself into it. So it's more of the same pathos, and of course, like, victims of stalking have been through a terrible experience, and I don't mean to negate that in any way. Not in any way, even if Megan's been through it, of course. Like, it's a terrible thing to experience, and I have nothing but compassion for people who have been through that kind of a situation. For that situation. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to give anybody who's been stalked a pass for their entire life just because they've been stalked, but obviously I have compassion for that situation. And that's what she's doing here, right? Is she's stirring up people's compassion, stirring up people's sense of you know, insecurity and fear about what could happen. And none of those things relate to what is happening here.
And, you know, it's very haunting what one of my, somebody that I've gotten to know over the last couple of years.
See, it's haunting. Are you haunted? See, because, yeah, it is haunting. But that's not relevant here. And it's manipulative to bring it into the conversation as though it is.
Was trying to, you know, she had a stalking order in place, or restraining order put in place. And the police basically told her, you know, they're not violating the stalking order, then there's nothing we can do to protect you. And her comment was, so you're basically telling me, unless I'm assaulted or I'm dead, there's nothing that you can do.
She literally ended her last video with all of this and about how it's so terrifying to be a woman because there's no protection from these terrible stalkers. That's how she ended her last video. So again, like, the appeal to the emotions, appeal to getting people upset and feeling terrified and threatened and all the rest of it. When we're not talking about an actual situation involving stalkers at all.
And the police essentially told her, yes, that was the case. That's haunting. It's chilling. It's horrible. It makes me want to do something to change the law so that there can't...
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Go out and change the laws. I'm all for that. Your time would certainly be better spent doing that than doing whatever this is.
Be better protections. There is an author out there, and I'm so sorry that I'm forgetting her name right at this moment, who calls stalking murder in slow motion. And I don't think that that is an over.
Like, she's so serious. Murder in slow motion. And I don't think that's an over-exaggeration. Yeah, right? It's not. But it's not what's happening here, Megan. And you're being so unethical by trying to smear Christina with all of this slow motion murder talk. And yet still, you might not clear that bar for defamation because it is a high bar.
Exaggeration or an over dramatization, because as the statistics that I shared on my initial live is that
she's talking about statistics about stalkers, not about Christina.
65% of attempted murder victims and 89% of murder victims were stalked prior to the murder.
Unlike Lauren Matthias, who was not stalked or murdered or attempted murder. Famously, none of those things have happened to Lauren.
So that's where I want to leave this. I'm kind of tired of talking about it, but I felt...
I mean, I'm certainly tired of listening to you, but this is only part 2 of 4, and there's another whole, 2-hour video that is separate from this that I think I've seen too, so it doesn't seem like you're that tired of talking about it, unless maybe these are all just out of order. Seems like we're going to end part 2 of 4 without ever having heard any of the court audio either, which apparently we're going to go over all of it, so look forward to that still. Maybe that'll happen in part 3.
Felt it was important to share details and facts. My own subscribers, as I said at the beginning...
I mean, I do feel that it's important to share details and facts, so I will be delighted when she starts doing that.
Were asking me if I had listened to the audio of the court, so I wanted to put that out there because I think it's been misinterpreted by a lot of different people. And, I have a problem with those channels who their only intent is to get on YouTube and drag people. And
again, she is implying motives, she's imputing motives and stuff to people. I have not seen people literally just coming out here to drag people. The only thing I've seen that could even be characterized by that at all is the Hidden True Crime, the musical, which, I mean, it's satire, so, I don't think that's really... I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and it gave me a good laugh, and I hope y'all have seen it. Go look it up.
Just make fun of people. They're not making any content, they're just taking other people's content.
I mean, that's like saying that, Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers are just out there making fun of people. It's satire. It's commentary. People are doing it to make a point. I haven't seen any channels that are just out here to make people look bad. I mean, even Turtle Boy. I don't mean even Turtle Boy. I mean, Turtle Boy, yeah, he roasted her with the eyebrows. It's commentary. He made comments about what a dipshit she comes off as. It's commentary. People are allowed to do that. People are allowed to comment. And, if Megan over here moralizing, it's not okay to make fun of people. Yeah, it actually is. It's okay to make fun of people. We're all human beings. It's something that people do, and they often do it for good reason, for good social cohesion reasons and things like that. So ignore the moralizing school marm over here. If you've, are having a pang or feeling bad at laughing at some satirical representation of this whole situation, because, I mean, even Dr. John said it, we all need comic relief. So, bite me, Megan.
And making fun of it as it's happening. I don't think that adds anything valuable to this online community or to the world in general.
Yeah, I don't think you add much of value to this online community, Megan. I mean, I used to think that there was some genuine, some sincerity behind the whole, revealing the machinations, behind the LDS community kind of thing, but I am just very starting to feel like that's just a way to a way in, a way into a legitimacy on YouTube. And I mean, I'm sure people think that the only reason I came here was to make fun of Lauren, and because that's how my channel started, right? It was the incident, the issue that got me to stop yelling at my computer and start yelling at my phone and posting it online. So, not sure what my point was, but I mean, satire is a revered form of rhetoric, and I'm all for it.
And I don't want to watch any of that stuff. So when people have asked if I've watched XYZ thing that came out about this, if it's a channel whose sole intent is just to make fun of people, to drag people, not interested. I don't care.
See, she's that's beneath her, right? It's her and Grayson. She and Grayson, they're above all these silly people who just want to make fun of people and drag them down. They're not serious people, right? They're just trying to dismiss you with this whole holier than thou thing. And again, it's a manipulation, and it's BS, and Megan is certainly not any better than you or me. I can promise you.
They say something negative about me, let them. There was this insinuation that Joe Schmo and I set Christina up, take those pictures in the bar, and I will just say, I honestly can't remember if I said this at the beginning of my live or not, but I want to say that I was...
So she doesn't care what people think about her, but she's out here correcting the record, right? So she cares what people think about her.
Not with Joe Schmo when he took the pictures, so I can't attest to what he did or did not do before he took those pictures. I didn't realize he'd taken them until after they'd been taken.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it. Wasn't me.
I was, near Lauren and Grayson in the bar both evenings, and I witnessed Christina being there both evenings. So I just want to say no.
Again, that's actually not proof of anything. This woman has shown us that her critical thinking abilities are subpar, and the fact that she witnessed Christina within 500 feet of Lauren when Lauren came into the place that Christina was and Christina hadn't had time to collect her things and leave yet means nothing, and she won't offer you that context, so you have to find it yourself, right?
As far as I know, nobody set anybody up. Christina was in fact in the bar, and she was in fact closer than 500 feet. The judge just clarified for us in that audio that they're allowed to be in the same public space together, but if they're able to be 500 feet apart, they need to be 500 feet apart.
Right, which is why Christina left, and she's not going to say that, right? She's just going to leave it hanging to make it look like Christina was there menacing Lauren on purpose. We got ourselves another lion sack of lies here, friend.
And I can also attest that, that bar area is a big area, and that Christina was less than 50 feet away from Lauren.
Again, it doesn't prove anything. Literally doesn't prove anything. She could have been there, and Lauren walked in and was within 50 feet of her. So, she's implying that Christina came up to within 50 feet of Lauren, but unless you were there and you saw the actual thing happen, she's got nothing.
So, in my estimation, that's a violation of the stalking order. So,
again, her estimation, as we know, is basically worthless because she isn't able to string her facts together to come to a logical conclusion. And she's expecting you to go, well, Christina was within 50 feet of Lauren, so that's proof that she broke the stalking injunction, when literally 1 second later, Christina could have been hightailing it out of there to avoid breaking the stalking injunction. But she's not mentioning that. She's not giving you the whole context. But, 5 minutes ago, she was claiming that people were sending out texts about Lauren that were out of context. So, again, one rule for thee and another for me.
That's all I'm going to say for now, and I probably won't comment on this again unless new information comes out. I hope that Lauren will continue to pursue.
So this just must be out of order, because this is only part 2 of 4 parts. So maybe she did the whole thing in one go, and then she broke it up into parts, but this is only part 2, and there's plenty more to go.
This case in court, she she dropped the suit because she thought that was the right thing to do for her family.
BS. That is the narrative that she's spinning now. To my mind, in my opinion, it became very clear that the judge was not buying her bullshit and that it was going to be broadcast. Her utter humiliation was going to be broadcast all over Law and Crime when it came out that she had made all this up to stop Christina saying things that she didn't like about her. So, I think that there's enough evidence of Lauren's machinations that it's safe to come to that conclusion. Also, we have the evidence that she has damaged her own child with her nonsense histrionics. And she's trying to lay that on Christina as well. So, Lauren don't give no hoot about her family, except in as much as it is a prop that she can use to legitimize herself as a professional and a mother and a wife. It's all BS.
Again, I very publicly have said from beginning to end, I would have handled this very differently myself. But me presenting.
So she can diss Lauren on the one hand and, defend her on the other. She didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I wouldn't have done it, but yeah. This woman is all about herself.
These facts is not me saying I agree with everything Lauren did. I want to be clear about that. I also want to be clear that regardless of how she handled it, or in my opinion, how she should have handled it, or whatever, agree or disagree with how she handled it, for me, the bottom line is that she didn't.
She handled it by weaponizing the police and law enforcement and the judicial process against someone who was saying things she didn't like.
Deserve what was done to her. And
what was done to her? What was done to her? Megan? What was done to Lauren?
And that's where I'm going to leave it. At the end of the day, I wish that we could put aside differences of opinion and that we could all agree that this kind of behavior is wrong, it's illegal, and...
So it was neither wrong nor illegal, so why should we all get together and agree that it was?
That should really be the end of the conversation, in my opinion. I hope...
Yeah. How convenient. Keeps Christina from saying her bit, doesn't it?
That you will take good care of the people that you love, but mostly I hope that you will take care of yourself. Because when we care for ourselves first, when we put ourselves first, and we do the thing that is the most loving thing for us, we're much better able to show up for the people in our lives who need us and who depend.
I mean, that would have been good advice for Lauren to take, I think. I think Christina did do that. I think Christina choosing to make that TikTok account where she could stand up for her friends and have an outlet for her feelings and her outrage was an act of self-love. And kudos to her for doing it.
Depend upon us. So I hope that you will take good care of yourself and treat others with kindness and respect. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the end for today. The video was only 20 minutes long, so it's a bit of a shorter one. Next, I will probably finish with Grayson and Web Sleuths, and then following that, I will do part 3 of Megan if people are still interested to hear what she has to say. So thanks for coming, thanks for sharing, thanks for liking, thanks for being here. Please like, share, comment if you haven't already done so. And yeah, thanks again, everybody. You all just continue to make my day most days, because I've been making a lot of videos and I've been getting a lot of nice engagement from all you nice people. So I'm blathering now, so I'll say goodbye. Goodbye.